Yo, what's up? What's up? It's your boy DJ Mad Scientist. Once again, we are back. Okay, and good news, I'm only 15 minutes late. What? Yeah, I'm working on trying to get here on time. It's just there's no excuse. I could give you an excuse, but there's really no excuse. I mean, the reason why there's no excuse is because I'm here at the studio really early. So how come I just can't try to get earlier? It's just I just got to do better. I just got to get better at being on time. So I'm gonna work on it. I'm gonna work on it. But at least it's not like 6:30 or 7. Now, I will have to say this. I wasn't here last week, and one of the reasons why I wasn't here last week is because I had a moment of doubt. At a moment of doubt, I was like, I see the numbers, and I know my channel is young. You know, my YouTube channel is young. Um, but for those who listen to this on the radio, and yes, I do simultaneously do this on the not simultaneously, but I pre-record this. I do this live on Friday, and then people on the radio hear it on Saturday. And by the time you hear it on Saturday, it is recorded. So that was the reason why I was even doing it. Is for the radio show, just talking music. By the way, let me just go ahead and do the intro first before I get into the small talk. Hey, what's up? This is DJ Mad Scientist on an all-new Power 97.5 LA. Today, we are just talking music, where we bring you vital information about music production, promotion, and distribution every week right here. Right here, where? We're on the iGlobal Radio app. Download the app from your favorite app store or go to the website iglobalradio.com. That's iglobalradio.com. All right. If you are listening to this on the radio, Power 975 LA on the iGlobal Radio app, I want to invite you to download the app. That way, it's a Saturday, and you might be like, hey, I want to go to the beach, but I still want to hear DJ Mad Scientist and the knowledge that he gives us every week. Okay, well then download the iGlobal Radio app. If you are watching this on YouTube live, then you know where I'm at because you're right here watching it live. Okay. If you have any comments, feel free. For those who are watching on YouTube, if you have any questions or comments, feel free to chime in. I'll be more than happy to answer your questions live if you have some. Okay. Now, so why was I late today? Here's my excuse. In order for me to bring this to you on YouTube, I use StreamYard. For those who don't know, I use StreamYard because I don't use OBS. Okay, it is an OBS type system, but I use StreamYard because I don't do a lot of the, look at my doll while I do this kind of thing. Maybe in the future, but I don't do it now. So I use StreamYard, and they just added a new feature where we could do like sound effects. Like you can do applause. Can you hear the applause? I can't really hear it. I don't know if you can hear it, but they got the bongos. They got the blues. Hold on, maybe I got to put my headphones on. The audience laughing. And they got the explosion. So I don't know. Hopefully you guys hear it. I'll listen to it again when I do playback. So I'll see if you guys can actually hear it. But I was noticing that they got the sounds now. And so that's cool. That's cool. That's crazy. All right. So yeah, that made me a little bit late. So today I want to go ahead and get into what we're going to talk about, which is I always say that I talk about promotion, production, and distribution, but I never really talk about distribution. And one of the reasons why I don't talk about distribution is because it is my firm belief that and distribution is under the umbrella of music marketing. So we are talking about overall music marketing. And the distribution in marketing would be called place, right? Because four P's of marketing would be the fourth P would be place. Um, in music specifically, it would be distribution. Okay. And a lot of us know distribution now as the TuneCore, the DistroKid, CD Baby. You also have the larger record labels that are all like distributors. Okay, so Universal is a distributor. Sony Music is a distributor. Warner is a distributor. There are three large music distributors, major large music distributors, and they are the large umbrella company or corporation. Underneath them are record labels, okay, of various sizes. And then under record labels are production companies of various sizes. And under production companies are artists of various sizes. Also, each distributor has independent distribution companies that are attached to them. It's the same company, but they focus on working with smaller labels. Um, and a lot of times you can, get, go directly not to Universal, but to Universal's um, independent wing. So if I were to look it up really quick, and I'm going to look it up, Universal Music Indie Distributor. Looking it up on the Google machine. Distributor. Um, no, I went for indie, not India. Okay. I believe it's just Universal Music, Universal Music Group. Okay. No, it's called In Grooves. Okay. Also, I guess Virgin Music is also um it's also let me for those who are on YouTube, let me bring it up so you can see what I'm looking at. So that you won't be feeling like out of the loop. There we go. So you can actually see. Okay, so Universal Music Group has a significant presence in independent music distribution through its Virgin Group. That's the Virgin that we all know. And Ingrooves Music Group. Most people don't know what Ingrooves is. They never heard of it, but Ingrooves is their independent distributor. And they typically deal with um, they offer services like marketing strategy, analytics, rights management, and royalty accounting. Um, and so usually with when you go to InGrooves, there is a fee that you pay, and you also have to buy their services. So you can actually be a record label and just say, instead of going to TuneCore, which is going to require that you do all the services yourself, promotion, marketing, services yourself, you can just go to InGrooves, pay them, and then pay them for their services. Okay. So you do have that option. And so, how do we get out of here? And so that's essentially what distribution is. And part of what these distribution services provide is an aggregation into DSPs. DSPs are Spotify, Apple. Also, it gets your music into. There's some other services I can't think about. I don't really want to. I didn't look it up so I can have it because I didn't really want to like go in depth. There's another thing that I want to talk about, but they'll get your music into all the social media. So they'll get your music into um, Instagram, TikTok. They'll send your music over to YouTube. So a lot of artists don't know that if you were to if you were to when your music is being distributed, and let me show you this because I'll show you on mine. When your music is distributed, you have what's called a topic, and I think this is it. Yeah, you have a topic. So those on YouTube can see it. Those who are on the radio, I'll just describe it to you. But I've released music through, a distributor, and so all my songs, all my music is on Spotify. My music is on Apple, all the Pandora, um, you know, um, Amazon, you know, all my music is everywhere, social media and YouTube. And so what I do is I have a lot of you guys will see like your favorite artist and it'll be the audio only. Okay. So it's called a topic, but that's your distributor putting the music into YouTube. Okay. And and then you could always bring in your music on your own channel. Okay. So I didn't really want this to be a how to distributor. I just kind of want to give you guys some background because what I actually want to share with you is an experience that an artist had. And this is not going to be a reaction video where I play all of her video because that's her audio. She owns it. And I'm not going to monetize off of her, right? I just want to introduce you to who she is and kind of break down her story because I truly believe that this will probably be the last time I'll be discussing distribution. Okay. Not that it's going away. I don't believe that it's going away. It's just that it will be an unnecessary conversation unless you are a major artist on a major record label. But before we get into that full discussion, let me show you, for those who are on YouTube, you'll see it. Those who are on the radio, I'll describe it to you. Okay. This artist, her name is Karra. That's Karra. Very talented artist. Um, she's very, very talented. So if you have a chance and opportunity to go visit her, I would strongly suggest you go visit her. She is just to kind of give you understanding of who she is. She is a artist, so she actually sings, raps. She's a songwriter, so she actually performs, sings, and raps. She's a songwriter. You know, you know, she makes money songwriting, writing for other people. She sings a lot on and raps a lot for a lot of the EDM DJs. A lot of EDM DJs will hire, lesser known singers so that they could sing on top of their beats. Okay. It's like rappers, but rappers don't do it as much. Hip hop producers don't do it as much, but EDM, they do it a lot. Okay. But that's another discussion for another day. Now, she sells, um, vocal, she sells vocal, like, I forgot what she calls them, but it's like little vocal takes that you can get on Splice. Okay. She used to sell it on Splice, but she stopped and now she sells it on her own. Okay. Also, If you go to her channel, she does a lot of video production how to, okay, and also music production how to, okay. And I've looked at some of her videos and they're cool. They're good. I recommend. Once again, her name is Karra. That's Karra for those on the radio. Okay, check it out. Now she released a video. This one is how long ago? I want to say almost a week ago. She released this video, and the name of the video is called "I invested $100,000 to create my album, and Spotify deleted it." Now, I was like, when I looked at it, I was not surprised at it, but I wanted to see what she spent her money on. Okay. So, just a little spoiler alert. I think it would be good for you to also um, look at this video, not just for her experience, but more to see what she spent her money on. Because a lot of independent artists, they don't know where to spend their money and they don't know how much things cost. And they're just out there kind of winging it. And I think this video was great because it gives you a blueprint from someone. She's not a major artist. She's not signed to a major record label. I think she ended up releasing her stuff through DistroKid. I could be mistaken, but she's just like us. She has more money. I don't have $100,000 to spend on an album release, but I have spent money on the album release. Not 100,000, but I've spent money on the album release. Okay. So I was interested in knowing, what would you spend $100,000 on and why? I can't imagine what I was initially thinking like maybe she hired some radio promotions people. But again, go ahead and look at the video so you can see specifically what she spent her money on. Okay. And that way you'll have an idea of, how much this business costs. Now, I will tell you this, in my opinion, about what she spent her money on. A lot of it, I don't think it was necessary. And I think she's probably realizing that. So I don't think she'll spend $100,000 on her next project, because a lot of the things that she was doing was hiring people who she probably didn't need to hire. And, whenever you hire someone to do work for you, that costs money. And then also, I don't think it would cost 100,000 because um, I'm of the thought process now. Like, I released an 8-song project. I'll probably never do that again. Okay. I'm not going to submit. I'm not going to, probably the most I'll do is 3 songs, because at the end of the day, no matter how many songs you put out in a project, you end up pretty much promoting one song. We have this mindset as artists that we want to put out a project, a body of work, and it sounds good, but I'm looking at the EDM guys, right? And the EDM guys, a lot of times, what they'll do is, especially the DJs, they will just release one song and work it, because they're already DJing. Like, I'll be DJing tonight. I'm only going to be able to play one of my songs. Okay. That's the reality, the bottom line. And so I can't, people are not there at the club to hear my whole album. I can probably slide one in. Okay. So I might as well just spend the time and energy on creating that one song, maybe once every 3 months, and working it for 3 months, and then working for 3 months, and then do another one. But doing 8 songs, it's unnecessary. I'm not even, in a position to really promote 8 songs. In fact, I'm only promoting one song and it's doing well, but I'm only promoting one song and people are going to that one song. So I think that's why number one, she won't spend 100,000 because hopefully she learned like, I mean, even with her, she put out a 13 song project and only put one song, only promoted one song. And this she probably going to cut down the cost on paying people to do things for her. Okay. But that's a little spoiler alert. I would say go ahead and that and look at the video. Now, why is this relevant to our discussion today? As you see, it says on here, Spotify deleted her music from its catalog after she spent all that money. Now, they actually did. Now, she never finds out why. Her suspicion and my suspicion, I think she's right. A lot of times people will, there are people out there who will sell services of, hey, get on my playlist. I have this many followers. If you put your music on my playlist and pay me, you're gonna get streams. Okay. Here's the problem. You don't know if that person is reputable or not. Now, we kind of assume that the playlists on Spotify are reputable and people are actually listening. Okay. I never listen to any playlists, and I'm in radio, right? If I want to know what songs are hot, I'll just go to Billboard charts, right? But I don't go to the Spotify to find new music. But maybe there's people that do. Okay. But there are also people out there who will say, hey, I have this playlist, I have this many followers, pay me. And then you're thinking, like, oh my God, I'm so lucky. Let me put their um let me put their let me put let me go ahead and pay this person to put me on their playlist. Also, this person may take someone like a Karra who has followers, who spent time building her brand. She's not quite famous, but she's more famous than the average artist. Put her on their playlist, kind of as a way to say, hey, new artists, look, you can be like Karra. And then what they do is they will bot the playlist. They will essentially bot the playlist. Okay. And so she suspects that somebody botted her her song, okay, gave her like fake, and Spotify has the right to say these are fake and we're going to take your music off our platform. We have to remember something. Spotify is not a utility where they must put everyone in their system. It's a publicly traded company that is owned by various levels of investors. Okay. And that publicly traded company can make decisions for the benefit of their company. Same thing with Apple. They're not a utility. Utilities, we all have to get electricity or access to electricity, water, because it's a utility. And as long as we're paying our bills, then they can't shut us off just because they don't like us. That's a utility. Water, gas, and trash. Whereas these privately owned companies, they're not required by law or regulation or rule or policy to let us on their platform. They're just not. So you can easily get an email that says, hey, we're taking your music out of our platform. Now, for the most part, we feel like, oh my God, it's the end of the world. No one can get our music. And so for the next 15 minutes, that's the discussion that we need to have. Because if you watch my channel or if you listen to me on the radio, what I try to do is change your mindset. Why am I changing your mindset? Because it's necessary. in order for you to be successful. The mindset has to change. We currently are, and there's a lot of people who currently have the mindset that success comes from a large record label coming, swooping us up. Oh, let me go ahead and on the YouTube channel, I'm gonna take her down. Um, Once again, her name is Karra, Karra. I'm not gonna play, her experience on my channel. I just want to like let you know she exists, and then you can always go and check her out. Okay, and see for yourself. It's well worth it. I've told other people about it, and they've all said to me like, "Thanks for sharing. I appreciate it." Okay, so um, she ended up getting her just to kind of wrap this up. She ended up she ended up having her music not put up there, and at the end of it, sh- I think she's gonna be in a better place. Okay, I feel like she's gonna be in a better place because um she learned a lesson that we're going to talk about today, which is you don't need the machine. We've never needed the machine, but now it is apparent we don't need the machine. We don't need the button. And I think as time, I my suspicions in 10 years, um, the larger distributors will not be distributing music. They'll be buying up music, owning music, and then just sending it through their own, DSPs. Okay, so you might have a universal DSP, and you can hear all the music, kind of like how TV is now. You have HBO, you have Hulu, you have all these different apps that you can download on your TV to see the content that they have, right? And you pay like a monthly fee. And so I think that probably Universal, Warner, Sony are just going to be apps, and they're going to say, "Here's all the music that's in our platform. You can, for a monthly fee, you can listen to all the music you want." Or they may have different levels, free, cheap. Like if you just want to hear just the artist that you want to listen to, okay, that's cheap. If you want to have access to everything, it's going to cost you more. Okay. And so I think they'll figure it out, but just the whole apparatus that we have now, the whole machine, I don't even know what to call it really, but the big machine that we have now, especially what was done in the 90s and early 2000s before the internet really kicked in, I think those days are done, over. Like it's a wrap. So, really, what I want to talk about is just to kind of get into the mindset of how this came about and why it existed so long. Why we are still holding on. You know, so there was a time in music where people just, they created their music and they traveled. Okay, this was the early forms of the early times of the 1900s, late 1800s, early 1900s. The most that people would do would be to write their music out so that you could play the music on your piano. And so if you had a piano, if you were rich enough to have a piano, you would go buy the sheet music and you play it for yourself. That was pretty much it. But other than that, like Scott Joplin, the early musicians, they had to travel around and play it live. Okay. Even Scott Joplin was a songwriter, he had to play it live. And if you wanted to hear Scott Joplin play, then you had to go see him. Okay. You couldn't just sit there on your phone and say, I'm gonna listen to some Scott Joplin today. Okay. So that's how music started, and pretty much that was probably the best times. Obviously, technology happened, and you had the invention of the phonograph, and you had the ability to record and make these records. But it wasn't really until the 1950s, 1940s that people were able to like get a record and take that record home and listen to the song on a phonograph at their leisure. Okay. And from that, you were able to like start to measure how much people like the music, like the song. And more importantly, the music industry was able to generate a different form of income. Okay. Not only could you sell tickets to a show, okay, not only could you sell the artist to the TV station or the radio, but now you have another form of income. You could sell these records. Ironically, those records started off as promotional tools. They were just like, hey, let's give it away. So when the artist comes to a town near you, you'll already know who the artist is. You'll know the words to the song, and you can come see the artist play. Okay. They're really promotional tools. But as we are a capitalistic country, somebody decided, hey, we should start selling these things. Okay. And in order to to have these things, to make them, manufacture these albums or these small little plastic discs or wax discs, you needed money. So the average artist could not go and just decide, okay, I'm gonna make these wax things and give them out. So you had to have people with money. Moving forward, new technology comes, things get better, artwork gets better. Okay. And so now having an album was not just a matter of getting the music, it's also the artwork. That's more like in the 70s, just the artwork. So that's where you get the Earth, Wind and Fire, the Parliament Funkadelic, a lot of the funk and soul. They would have, different artwork. A lot of the rock and roll would have different artwork on there, because part of buying the album was getting the artwork and then also having the musical experience. Okay. But again, this all was very, very costly. Just going into the studio cost a lot of money because a lot of the equipment was large, hard to work. You had to be a specialist, still do. But it was very expensive to manufacture. So you had to have money to go in the studio. But even after all of that studio production done, now you have to take and make copies of that music and put it on LPs, or vinyl. And that's expensive. So there was a need for, again, the large distribution companies, because these are the only people that had the money, okay, to put out. Now, fast forward to the 90s, to my era. Okay, so now we got CDs, cassettes, and vinyl. Okay. I know from experience that you could, yes, I was able to like start making music at home. Okay. I had a computer and I could make music at home, and I had a little Tascam, and I was fortunate enough to have a little Tascam, and it was like a 4-track, and that's where I learned. That's where I started, with a Tascam 4-track and a little janky microphone, a little bitty itty computer, right? And I was able to do that at home. It didn't sound good, but I'm young. I don't need to sound good. I just need the sound. But the one thing, if I wanted to get it reproduced, it costs money. Just buying the cassettes, right? Because you have to buy the cassettes, you have to buy the CDs. They were expensive. Okay. I think it was like $2 just to buy a cassette. So if you're trying to make a copy, and that's only 10. So if you're trying to make copies of your music, so you can just like give it out or sell it, right? It was like expensive. Um, in the late 90s, when I started doing internship, yeah, it was like I remember hearing that it cost about $1 to make a CD. Okay. I just remember hearing that. It was like $1 per CD, right? But it costs money to like make the CD itself. Also, the artwork, the booklet inside, all that costs money. Okay. And I remember for some reason, I remember it was like $1 for the majors. Well, if you thought about, I want to sell 10,000 units, that's $10,000 you would need. As a college student, I would not have $10,000. Okay. As a kid, I would not have $10,000. I don't know. I would not have access to that money. So we have this impression that, oh, in the 90s, when they were selling CDs, and the early 2000s, when they were selling CDs and vinyl and cassettes, that they were making all this money. Well, the reality is that they had to spend a lot of money in order to make it. So, yes, in hip hop, we had Master P. I don't know how he got his money, but he got enough money. Rough Riders, right? I don't know how they got their money, but they got enough money. You know, Easy E with Priority. I don't know how they got the money, but they had enough money up front to buy all the necessary cassettes, CDs, and then you have to go out and sell them. So you put them in the mom and pop stores, and you're hoping that people buy it, or you're hoping that somehow the store is going to be honest with you. Okay. Or if you went through a distributor, same thing. You have to deliver the product, and you're hoping and praying that they're going to be honest. And this is like, then these distributors are not going to just deal with 10. They're not going to take my little 10 cassettes and put them out to a store. And those stores going to take my little 10 homemade cassettes looking like a science project and sell it to customers. They're not going to do that. So if you don't have the money in order to make this product, the probability of you being able to like sell it, make it, and sell it is going to be very low. Okay. That's just the reality. I had one of my projects where I went through a distributor and they suggested I do real product. I don't know why I agreed to it, but I agreed to it and I paid for it. It was a lot of money. And I've never got any copies of the product, let alone, and this was right before the pandemic. So it was just a bad investment. It wasn't $100,000, but even if I just paid $100, it was too much, right? Because people don't buy that stuff anymore. But I'm saying this for those who think there was a glory days where, oh man, artists made more money. Yes, Jay-Z made a lot of money selling records, but he had somehow, I mean, I could speculate, but I'm not going to speculate. Somehow he had the money to for Rockefeller Records to buy the product and then put it in the store, and he had to take the risk because there was so many things that could have happened to his product once it got to the stores. Maybe the stores could sell the product and not give him the money. You know, there's so many things that could happen because you're relying on other people in order to create your product, and then once you have the product, to sell the product. Okay, and then after they sell it, to collect the money and then give you your money. So if you think that we all want to go back to that world where, and there's no large corporations that with some code of ethics that are like, well, we are Target and maybe Target, but Target pretty much is a large corporation who's probably going to say, I need you to deliver because we have all these stores. Can you deliver 100,000 units? Which means that you have to have $100,000. Now you may trust Target. By the way, we are boycotting Target. I'm just using them as an example. I could use Walmart. You could trust Walmart because Walmart's probably thinking like, I ain't trying to take your little $100,000, right? We don't need it. If it sells, we'll send you your check. If it don't, we'll send you the product back. Okay. But even if you went through Walmart, then you still have to like spend the money to get the product, deliver the product, and then you got to spend the money to promote the product because just having it there at Walmart does not mean it's going to sell. Does that mean that automatically people are going to say, "Oh, I saw your album, let me buy it"? That's not the case. Okay. So that's what people had to go through during that time. So when DSPs, when Spotify came around, and the reason why I'm bringing all this up is because right now there is this "we hate Spotify, we hate Apple Music" kind of narrative going around. Like Spotify is the bad people, right? Now, I'm not caping for them. I'm not saying that they're the good people. I'm just saying the narrative is right now Spotify and Apple Music, they're the bad people, especially when you look at someone like Karra, who might think, I hate Spotify. I don't know what she thinks. She didn't say it. But if she said that, I wouldn't blame her, right? And I'm pretty sure you might agree. But that narrative exists. And the fact of the matter is, whether you agree with it or not, we are not going to want to go back. As a DJ, I don't want to go back to that. You think I want to carry around LPs? No, I want digital product that I can put into my computer and then play it. I am not about to be carrying no crates. Okay. I know there's a lot of DJs out there, mad scientists. I'll carry the crates. Cool for you. But me, I'm not carrying no crates. So I'm not caping for, let's go back to CDs. And CDs are heavy too. And those cases break. All those who don't know, CD cases break, they crack. Okay. CDs can break and crack. LPs can, I mean, if you don't store them right, trust me, I have some friends from high school who are crazy mad at me because I thought I could, store records in a garage. No, you can't. Okay. They melt, they warp. So we're not going back to that where people are, need to sell those. They're expensive and just the whole business of it is just not beneficial unless you have access to large sums of money. And most of us don't have access to that kind of money. If we had to go back to that world, I would not like it. I was in it because I didn't know any better. But now that I see a difference, I don't want to go back to that world. Okay. Now, let's talk about moving forward. What are we going to be doing? Okay. And this distribution discussion, I think for the most part, we need to look at it a different way, not as a how to, but more as a perspective. And that's what I'm going to give to you. Some people say that there's no money in music. There's plenty of money in music. It's how you're getting your income that matters. And essentially, what you are going to have to do as an artist or as a music producer is figure out ways to perform your music live. Perform your music live. Give people a 1-to-1 live experience, or 1-to-100, 1-to-10, 1-to-100. And there are various ways that are out there now, technology out there now. I am providing you with content live and recorded. every Wednesday and Friday. If you're watching me live, you're watching me on a TV. If you're watching me on YouTube, you're watching me on TV or a laptop, some kind of visual, or you're hearing me on the radio. Okay. I'm not at a large TV studio. I don't have big cameramen that are that are recording this. This is essentially a camera, light, microphone, and a computer. But the technology allows me to provide you with this. And we think it's totally normal. We think it's totally normal. We think there's no problem with this. You know, no one's sitting here like, this is weird. I've never seen it like this. No one does that. And it's my belief and understanding because of what I do. When I started as a producer. I DJ before in high school for fun. But I never was like, I'm gonna be a DJ. It was my manager who came to me and said, you're gonna start DJing. Really? Why? Said because you need to get out there. People need to hear the music that you do. And you can DJ. You have the ability to DJ. So just go DJ. And it made all the difference in the world for my career. It essentially got my career going from being just an expensive hobby to being a real career. I literally make good money in the music industry, but I DJ live. I perform live on a weekly basis. Okay. And I don't have to just, yes, I'm going to play Drake. I'm going to play Kendrick. I'm going to play a lot of other people, but I'm also going to play mad scientists. Okay. And that's a fact. If people decide to like the song, because just because I play a Drake or a Kendrick song doesn't mean that everybody likes the song. See, people might be like, I like the song. Other people might be like, I hate that song. So I had to change my mindset from, I'm just going to make music and just put it into a distributor and hope that people, no, I play my music. And I watch a lot of the EDM guys. That's what they do. They DJ, they'll create one song, um, and probably one or two songs a year, and they include it into their project. And eventually that song might blow up. And then now they're being booked not just as a DJ, but as a performer of the song. And the more songs you have, the less other people you have to play. So you have someone like Clooney. He's a very well-known EDM DJ. He has about two songs that everyone knows. One of them is the remake of Young M.A.'s Young M.A. Ooh, okay. Stephanie, they call her Stephanie. Okay, I play the song. It's a good song. Okay, I think he has one more. I can't think of the name of it, but essentially, he plays those two songs when he does his set, but he also plays other music. Okay, and then you also have someone like David Guetta. David Guetta doesn't play anyone else's song. He has so many hit songs that he could do a 2-hour set and not play anybody's song. Same thing with Tiesto. Okay. He doesn't have to play anybody's song. Same thing with DJ Mustard. DJ Mustard could probably do about an hour. My guesstimation is he could do an hour and not have to play anybody else's music. If he's performing, he's probably going to be at a club and he'll be the closer. And this will be in Vegas. If it's a 4-hour resident, he may have other people open up for him and then he'll close. And he may do, I've never been to one of his shows, but my guesstimation is that he probably does either 1 or 2 hours. He doesn't do 4 hours. Okay. Um, but he's a producer and he has people singing and rapping over his music. He owns the music and he can legitimately do probably 2 hour show of just his music. So whereas he may not be making money on streams, he doesn't care because he just got off tour with Kendrick. And you're going to make more money selling those tickets. That's another thing. Let me talk about. Back when hip hop, and we're talking about hip hop, back when hip hop was selling those CDs for $20, they weren't selling tickets. I remember when you could not, as a hip hop artist, get a show. So a lot of venues would not allow hip hop. So you could say, well, we're not making those money on CDs anymore, but you weren't making ticket money like this. You know, there were no festivals with where hip hop artists are making $500,000 to $1 million for an hour set. That didn't exist. So you just have to change your mindset to, okay, I'm not making $500,000, but my guesstimation is that you should be able to make at least $500 to $1,000, even if you're unknown. How can you do that? Okay, I'm a club DJ. Here's what I tell a lot of hip hop artists that or any kind of artists that come to me. They're like, "Hey, I want to expose." I said, "Well, here's the thing. I'm not going to stop the whole club and let you and let you perform. That's just not going to happen." Okay, so I'm not going to tell you that someone will let you do that. But a lot of times, like for me, I have a Taco Tuesday. Come to the Taco Tuesday. Yes, there's less people there, but it's more likely that you'll be able to like introduce yourself to the 50 to 60 people that are there at my Taco Tuesday, as opposed to the 300 people. I make more connection with the people at the Taco Tuesday than I do at the club because it's a lot of people there and they're not there. They're there to dance. They're not there to meet the DJ. They may look at me and say, "Oh, the DJ is cool. There he is." But at the Taco Tuesday, I can sit down and have full conversations with people. And that's where I get a lot of my followers for Instagram. Okay. A lot of my followers for YouTube is at the smaller events. Okay. At the Taco Tuesday. So I tell a lot of artists, come to the Taco Tuesday. Um, and then you may develop a relationship either with the DJ or the promoter or the manager at a venue and say, "Hey, I want to put on an event here." David Guetta started off, he's from France, he's French. Started off, he says, on the worst night in the club industry out there, which is Tuesday night. That's where he started. He started doing Tuesdays and he built up his following. And then he got the better nights. So you as an artist can go to a venue and you start bringing your people out and you can either charge tickets or you can get a percentage of the bar or a combination of both. Okay. And start generating money. Now, if you're like, no one's going to come see me perform, well, then that's why you're not making, there's no money in your music industry because I have people who will come see me DJ. I do. I have people who hit me up every week and they're going to come see me DJ. Okay. And that's why I'm able to generate income. Okay. I have outside the club, I have my Taco Tuesday and I have my Saturday brunch. Okay. I do that every week and I generate money from that. Okay. And as I'm there playing other people's music, Drake, Kendrick, DJ Mustard, and everyone else, I'm going to also play my music. I'm going to play my music. And at that point, you can decide, people can decide whether or not they like the music. And my music is available on Spotify, Apple, and also YouTube. Now, I want to end by really going into one last aspect of distribution. We talked about distribution being the place where people can go and consume your music. Okay, that is your product. Okay, and a distribution is about getting your product out to your customer base. We think automatically that I need to be on Spotify, I need to be on Apple. Really, do you? Do you? You don't have to be on Spotify and Apple. The largest platform for music, period, even with Apple and Spotify, is YouTube. And one of the things that Karra said, which I learned that from her, you can put your music on YouTube and people can find it. In fact, that's where people go to find music is YouTube. And as if it's not in the DSPs, if it's not in Spotify, if it's not in Apple, you get ad revenue. What? Yes, you get ad revenue as long as it's not in one of the DSPs. So really, it's not a matter of saying we want to go back to CDs and LPs and where people pay $10 for music. What we want to do is take the technology that we have right now and we want to use it to our advantage. We want to use it and be able to capitalize off of it. You know, when cars were created, no one says, I wish we can go back to horse and buggies. There's a lot of inventions. You know, we have cell phones that we take with us. No one ever says, I want to go back to where the phone was in the house. And I mean, legitimately, we could think to ourselves, like, hey, man, was life simpler when we didn't have social media and phone was just in our pocket and we had to like go home to see if someone actually called us? No, but no one says that. You know, we just try to get better phones. Okay. And if you shouldn't be on social media, you put your phone down. So artists can't be in a position where we are trying to always go back to a time, because if you go back to those times, you're going to see that there might have been some kind of advantage that you may in your mind think existed, but then there were other disadvantages. Right now, you release something on YouTube and everyone with a phone has access to it. And you don't have to, there's 7 billion people on the planet. You don't have to pay $7 billion just so that 7 billion people have the possibility of listening to your music. No, you have one digital file, you upload it, put some video in front of it, and whoever's on YouTube or Spotify or Apple can then say, I'll listen to it. And that's it. And so we have a really great advantage. The only thing that we have to continually do is educate ourselves so that we know how to use the tools. And that's what I do here every week is I tell you how to use the tools. So I know this was a long, lecture. Let's just call it what it is. I apologize for that, but it's something that I had to do in order to get you to change your mindset, get you away from this, I must do it in this way from the 90s in order to be successful. Nah, you don't have to go back to the 90s in order to make money. There is still money in the music industry. What you have to learn is how to generate that income. All right, so that's it for the week. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for coming and being part of this, a part of this show, part of this live. I appreciate all of you. You guys have an excellent weekend. Be safe out there. I will see you guys next week.